Insane Karen neighbor story time. How would you handle her? I thought we were just being paranoid. Lesson learned, trust your gut by Wadia729. And there's an update with a conclusion. So my husband and I thought we were just overthinking the situation, but nope, we were right all along. We bought our first and current home just over 2 years ago. We were so excited to get into a house and we're really looking forward to getting out of apartment living. But it has turned out to be a complete disaster. It all started with the neighbors behind us. They were mowing 8 feet over the lot line, and they have a 120-pound Husky Lab German Shepherd mix who they let out with no fence, tether, or leash. After he charged at our 4-pound puppy, the wife had to wrestle the dog to the ground and the husband just went inside. We had a fence installed. Very long story short, the fence ticked them off beyond belief because children should be able to play wherever, except never once did we see their kids out back. We thought the fence would be the end of it, but you know where this is going. Now, they ram our fence with their lawnmower whenever they can, and they throw trash over the fence into our property. We couldn't figure out where the hostility was coming from until I heard the wife talking to her mom or mother-in-law about us. They don't even have kids. They took that house from a family who deserves it. Just a note, our house is a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and is just under 1,100 square feet. This is not a home built for kids, but it's just the right fit for us, our dog, and 2 cats. We thought this was just them and not the attitude of everyone around us. But then I started hearing whispers, upper Midwest whispering that you're absolutely supposed to hear from some neighborhood parents about the same thing. They don't have kids, they don't belong here. Again, this was like the same 3 sets of parents who all have kids the same age who play together. A few entitled parents who judge me for not being a mother is nothing new, and most parents don't give a crap if you tell them that you don't have or want kids, so whatever. This goes on for a while, and we just wrote it off as a few bad eggs. Then, a couple of weeks ago, my husband and I were sniping at each other while carrying in groceries from the car. As we're putting the groceries away and laughing, the cops show up at our door. Where we live, we have very strict domestic violence laws, so usually someone gets arrested if the cops get a domestic call. It was pretty obvious that no one was at risk of anything, and I go back inside. We immediately pull up the live feed from our Ring cam and catch the cops' conversation. Officer says, "Yeah, this was nothing. If my neighbors called the office every time my wife and I snapped at each other, they'd be over every day." Sergeant replies, "This was a huge waste of our time. I'm gonna go over and I'll talk to the caller. We never should have been called. I'm so tired of coming into this neighborhood." We see the sergeant walk over across the street, and we couldn't hear what he said, but it was pretty obvious he was less than happy with the neighbors who called. The husband started shouting, "We have kids, they shouldn't have to listen to this." And the sergeant said something that shut him up and wrote a ticket, which turned out to be a ticket for a false report. We were very upset about the cops being called to our home. We knew how close we came to one of us getting arrested over nothing. We talked to our next door neighbor, who we love and who is getting their house ready to sell. She said, "Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything because my ex-husband and I had issues with this same group for years, and we didn't want to get involved, but there is a group of parents who talk about you guys all the time, and they're working together to get you to leave. They think that you shouldn't be living in this neighborhood since you don't have kids. We had issues with them because my ex-husband is black, and the neighbors didn't want black kids running around the neighborhood. The cops used to be called all the time when our kids were playing outside, so the cops know about the parents on this street. Now they write tickets every time that they're called to the neighborhood, and it turns out to be nothing." We couldn't believe it. Confirmation that there really is a mommy mafia conspiracy that's out to get us, and they're super racist to boot. Later that day, we were on our way back to our house from a dog walk and saw the guy who called the cops on us talking to our next door neighbor, and she was flipping her crap on him. "I've told you over and over not to call the cops about every little thing. I have black kids who have black friends, and the last thing I need is a dead kid because of you. You can take your BLM sign and shove it up your butt. You called over nothing. My kids could have been hurt." We don't know what to do at this point. We're surrounded by really mean racist parents who, apparently, are going to constantly call the cops on us until they run us out. We just had an incident this morning. We caught the neighbors behind us letting their huge dog into our fenced-in yard to poop. Full-on trespassing, opened our gate, and everything. My husband went out there and got upset with them, and all they did was go inside without their dog. They just left him in our yard. My husband came inside, called animal control, and forwarded the ring footage of them opening the gate to the same sergeant who came by our house on the domestic call. When the cops and the animal control showed up, the wife came out back to try and sneak the dog back into the house and was caught by one of the cops in our yard. We don't know what happened after that, but hopefully we'll get an update soon. Here's the update a few months later. So the next door neighbors who we got along really well with moved out, which made us very sad. By the time they were gone for good, they had ran out of craps and told every one of our neighbors exactly what they thought of them. It was hilarious, but laughing audibly every time we heard them call someone a racist didn't earn us any points with the cabal of butthole parents, so we're still putting up with some crap. The neighbors behind us, who ran our fence and opened our gate to let their dog crap in our yard and then get caught by the cops, they have gone largely quiet. There was a ticket for trespassing and animal control threatened to remove their dog, so they've been avoiding us. They still ram our fence with their lawnmower and stomp all over our plants, but we got some revenge. My husband was working from home and the internet went out. He went to go check the router and noticed a technician from our ISP working on the box that sits on the easement between us and the butthole neighbors behind us. Husband went out and asked what's up. The tech said that our neighbor's internet went out and they just needed to replace a part quick. No biggie, right? Husband's ears perk up and he asked the tech what part was being replaced. The tech showed him and he said he wasn't sure how it could happen. Husband said, "Hey, could that have been caused by someone repeatedly ramming the box with the lawnmower?" The tech says, "Yeah, definitely." Husband says, "Out of curiosity, when did neighbor Butt call you to tell you his internet was out?" "Well, about 10 this morning." The husband proceeds to go grab his tablet and pulls up our ring footage from about 9:30 that morning, where neighbor Butthole clearly rams not only our fence, but also slams into the electrical boxes very hard, multiple times with his lawnmower. Tech asks husband to forward him the video, and husband does and goes inside. He tells me while I'm at work to pull up the live stream of our ring, and there's the tech standing next to the electrical box, showing Butthole neighbor the damage along with the footage the husband provided. Butthole neighbor says, "Well, I'm not paying for this." The tech says normal aging wear and tear is one thing, but this is property damage. Here's a bill for $1,200, and if you don't pay it, your internet will be canceled and it can go to collections. Gosh, it was funny. Didn't help our relationship with these people, but whatever. We got new next door neighbors recently, and they seem nice, but they are still learning how suburban America works. They are an Eastern European family with a dark history. Slobodan tried to off Grandma and Grandpa back in the 90s. They were refugees in Europe for a long time before they were able to come here to America, and this is their very first house since losing theirs during the genocide. The family is Grandma, Grandpa, Mom, Dad, and 2 young kids. Any complaints that we have about them are minor, and they're getting the hang of it. They are super proud of finally having a home of their own. But I guess the biggest development is that we've decided to leave. We had a meeting with our realtor on Wednesday, and we're going to settle on a timeline as soon as he gets back to us. We bought our house less than 3 years ago, but housing prices jumped up so much that in that time, we're going to walk away with over $100,000 when everything is said and done. It does feel like that we're letting the buttholes win, but we came to realize that we're not happy in suburbia and it's not worth it to stay just so we don't let butts win. We're planning on downsizing, going full millennial tiny home, and buying a liveaboard boat. Between COVID and our terrible experience in this neighborhood, husband and I are very tired of humanity and need a break. Luckily, the sale of our house will net us enough to cover all of our debt and most of the cost of the kinds of boats that we're looking at. So we'll be cutting our cost of living by at least 60% and starting off on an amazing new adventure. We can't wait to get the heck out of this nightmare of a neighborhood. We've also come to realize our part in this. The fact that we didn't really think about where our house was and focused only on the house itself when we bought it. It occurred to us recently that being child-free in a high-demand suburb with the best schools in the state didn't make much sense. That, and we all got new tax assessments, and ours jumped up by a staggering $58,000. So, screw paying those property taxes. Karen yells at the security guard for doing her job, posted by Daddy Dorian Art. My mother is well known to be a Karen, even joking about it herself sometimes. She's usually really sweet, but when it comes to staff or workers, Her Karen side comes out full force. I have many stories about her antics, so she is labeled here as a Karen, since she wears the name proudly. Me and my partner are moving out of our house to a new town, so last week I moved back home with my parents for a few days to clean out my old storage room while my partner went down to the new town for his first day of school. My dad had a seizure the first day that I moved home, so my mom, Karen, asked me to help her with some general shopping while my grandmother watched my 4 siblings and took care of my dad. I drove us around town and to a few stores, eventually ending up at a Kmart. Think Walmart for us Kiwis, but no food, only general items. She wanted to get some workout gear, so we go in, we do our shopping, and we head to the checkouts. Here's where things get going. She grabbed the receipt and I grabbed the items, getting ready to walk out of the store. There had been lots of thefts recently due to the economic climate of my country at the moment. So, security will quickly glance at your receipt, see the number of items that you have, and let you out. Usually, they don't do this to everyone, just shady people, which has gotten the company in hot water because of racism and discrimination. So, the company now makes it an effort to check all receipts, which I'm fine with. As we walk out, my mother makes it past the security scanners before the young lady working as a security guard asks to see the receipt. Big mistake. My mother immediately screws her face up and makes more than a few scoffing sounds before exclaiming loudly, "Excuse me? Do I look like someone who would shoplift?" At this point, everyone at the tills is looking over, and I feel like melting into a puddle to get away as I have social anxiety. The poor lady puts her hands up in an "oh no, Karen on the loose" gesture and politely explains that we need to check everyone's receipts so we aren't discriminating. Mother Karen puffs up and screws her face up more. But do I look like a shoplifter? All my clothes are labeled, all expensive brands. She then scoffs again, winding up for a whole tirade, waving the little paper that would save me from embarrassment all around, all while flapping her lips like a shocked fish. She is slowly turning into a lovely shade of tomato red and looks like she's going to burst. Realizing things are going to get much worse, I finally pick myself up out of my mental puddle, grab the receipt from her claws, and show the security guard who's still attempting to placate the raging she-beast. I hand it over politely saying, "Here, have a look, is this okay?" While gazing longingly at those sliding doors, as I know salvation from the dirty looks hitting the back of my head is only a few steps away. The poor security guard waves me through, and I grab my mother beast's shoulder to push her out. She relents, moving through and muttering about rights and managers and not doing her job, stamping her feet like a toddler. I look over my shoulder as we walk out and give the security lady, who looked like she had just been slapped, a little smile and mouthed apology. The last words I hear before the doors to salvation slid shut was the security guard commenting in a small voice, "I only needed to see the receipt. It's my job." I felt horrified. Relief flooded me as I realized that it was over. Embarrassment burning at my cheeks as I shepherded the Karen to the car. All while she's still going on about how outrageous this was and how she feels disgusting and like a vagrant, all because she was asked to show her receipt. Thinking this was over, I hopped in the front seat, hands shaking and eyes tearing up. But no, the Karen turns to me, scrunched up her face, and made one more remark. "This only happened because you look homeless. Wear a dress next time." Oh, thanks, Mom. Thanks. I get injured on a delivery and Karen berates me because the delivery is taking longer than usual, posted by Nomadicus Rex. I don't even know how this is going to go, but we gotta dive in. It's gonna be crazy. Here we go. So, last night was fun. I am disabled due to a hit-and-run driver. I don't get disability, so on my good days, when my back isn't hurting too much, I do delivery for a popular online retailer that also owns a chain of grocery stores. Last night, I start my delivery shift. Of course, Karen's being Karen's, the first order, which is upstairs, also includes cases of water and gallons of water, because of course it does. Since this apartment complex decides that 24-point type is an appropriate script to write their unit numbers on instead of anything that, say, a paramedic or a delivery person could see from any distance, I'm out of my car, on foot, looking for the apartment, since Karen did not answer either my text message or phone calls asking for help locating her delivery location. While I am on foot, heading back to my car because I think I've spotted the correct building number, a large and aggressive dog comes at me. I run and get in my car, but not without falling, twisting my ankle, and biting down so hard that I chipped a tooth, which sucks. I get in the car, and the dog is now gone. I don't know where he went. Did the owner of the dog catch it? I don't know. I was in the car in pain, catching my breath. So, I call our on-the-road support folks, who generally are pretty helpful and get permission to return this delivery to the store. And then Karen calls me back. I don't know why I answered. My can-do customer service instincts, but I told support, hold on, it looks like the customer is actually calling me back. Let me see if I can get this order delivered. Oh man. So, I answer. Karen starts demanding why I haven't delivered the order yet, and I told her, hey, I just got injured by one of your neighbor's dogs. My ankle is hurt. Can you please just give me a little help here finding your place? I just want to get your groceries. And Karen goes on a rant about how the groceries aren't for her, they are for her daughter, who is a nursing student with a large protective dog. And her daughter normally uses a folding wagon for groceries, and maybe she'll come down and help me grab those groceries. Nope, Karen's daughter does not want to do that, but she'll make sure to keep her large protective dog inside. I'm left wondering if this is the same dog that tried to eat my liver. I told Karen, that's okay. While I am expected to deliver the groceries to the door, dispatch has given me permission to return the order to the store. I can complete the order, the pain in my ankle hasn't set in that much, adrenaline and all, and Karen insists on me staying the whole time on the phone with her. And the whole time she's going on and on about how she wanted the delivery completed by a certain time, and now it's not going to be delivered on time. I told her, hey, I understand that. I didn't expect to have a dog come after me either, nor get hurt, but I'm completing the delivery in spite of being injured. Why was I so stupid? I couldn't put much weight on my ankle, so I couldn't carry as much as usual, and it took me a long time. So it took me about 4 to 5 trips to get this lady's stuff all in front of her daughter's door. The nursing student daughter who never so much as poked her head out to see if I was okay. Karen was angry at me the whole time, talking about how I raised her blood pressure so much that her chest was hurting. What? Huh? How's that? By delivering her grocery order and taking longer than usual to do so? I don't know yet if she called the company to complain, but it was the next to worst delivery I've ever been on. The worst being in 2018, where some yahoo out in the middle of nowhere decided to shoot at me for bringing them something that they ordered. Thankfully, the guy was a bad shot, and no, they did not get their delivery and were banned forever, but the police did nothing to the dude. So, it's the next day. I slept for like 10 or 11 hours, and I'm posting this. My ankle seems to have a mild sprain, my other foot hurts, and my tooth, it's still chipped. I'm waiting back to see if I'll get paid for the amount of time I had to work over thanks to this nonsense. Independent contractor work, yay. Fun times. An update. P.S. I don't know about most of y'all, but if someone was injured bringing me food, I would want to see that they were all right. I most certainly would be kind and sympathetic if it took a few extra minutes for them to bring me the food. I could have just not answered Karen's call, taken the groceries back to the store when I was done with my other deliveries, and still would have been paid. At worst, I would have missed out on a tip if Karen actually tipped at all, but I also would have been paid for the extra time it took me to take those groceries back to the store. So, completing that order most definitely went against my best interest, and I'm left wondering if the dog that came after me was Karen's daughter's dog. People in this area can be so irresponsible about dogs, and look, I love doggos, they're my favorite critters. Karen demands a copy of Super Mario Bros. And accuses my entire department of theft, posted by Gold and Silver 61. Oh, this one's going to be rough, I can already tell. Here we go. With the new Super Mario Bros. Movie opening in theaters soon, I thought I would share this story from when I worked at good old Wally World back around the mid-2000s. I was filling in at the electronics department, and it was a slow day. I was standing in the middle of the department waiting for a customer to assist. Finally, a middle-aged woman, the Karen of the story, walks in. I approached her and asked her, "Hi, how can I help you?" She replied, "I want to purchase the newest Super Mario Bros. Game." I said, "Hey, not a problem." I led her to the Nintendo cabinet, opened it, and pulled out a copy of the game. But Karen said, No, not that one." I responded, "Ma'am, this is the newest copy of Super Mario Bros." No, I want Super Mario for the PlayStation." I informed her that Mario is a Nintendo licensed property and that it is not sold on PlayStation. She responded, "Yes, it is. I saw a commercial advertising it for the PlayStation, and that's what I want to buy." I tried my best to tell her that she did not see a commercial advertising Mario for the PlayStation. Of course, this went as well as you expected. She shouted, "Don't tell me what I did or didn't see. I know I saw a commercial advertising Mario for the PlayStation, and that's what I want." I showed her the copyright logo on the game case, stating that Mario was a Nintendo licensed game, but she still refused to believe me. So I led her to our PlayStation display case and said, "Ma'am, this is our current selection of PlayStation games for sale. As you can see, there are no copies of Super Mario Bros. So even if you are right, we just don't carry copies of the game here." With this, I had just hoped that she would just accept that we didn't sell copies of the game for the PlayStation and just walk away. But if she did, I wouldn't be posting here. Instead, she started accusing me of stealing all the copies of Mario Bros. For the PlayStation to sell online at double the cost so I can make a profit. Dumbfounded, I asked what the heck she was basing this off of. Realizing I wasn't going to get through to her, I called over a coworker for assistance. I turned to the coworker and said, "You don't know the conversation I've had with this lady." He nods yes. I turned to Karen and said, "There is no way I could have prompted him on what you wanted coming into this department. So, with that in mind, please ask my coworker what you want." Karen turns to my coworker and tells him that she wanted the newest Super Mario Bros. On the PlayStation. He tells her the same thing that I did, that Mario isn't sold on PlayStation consoles. Of course, she lumps my coworker into the conspiracy that the two of us must be stealing all the copies of the game for PlayStation and selling them online at double the cost. The department manager finally sees the scene that Karen was making. He rushes over, tries to calm her down and tell her that Super Mario Bros. Isn't sold on the PlayStation, but she lumps him in on it and, as the department manager, accused him of being the ringleader of the operation. Cue the crocodile tears as she says, "All I wanted to do was to buy a copy of Super Mario for the PlayStation for my son's birthday, but you monsters have ruined his and countless other children's birthdays by stealing the game from the store so you can sell them online at double the cost. Well, Walmart has lost a valued customer this day. I'm going to go to another store, find a copy of Super Mario Bros. For the PlayStation, bring it back here, and expose you all." Karen began to storm off, but I couldn't let her get the last word in. I yelled back. Ma'am, go ahead and try to find a copy of Super Mario Bros. For the PlayStation at a different store. If you can, bring it back here and I will give you my next paycheck. Needless to say, we never saw or heard from her again. I guess she wasn't able to find Super Mario Bros. For the PlayStation after all. Karen puts a disabled man in my ER. I press charges. Click the video on your screen so you find out what happens, and I'll see you there.